The Dallas Cowboys have a golden opportunity to put the league on notice and to shut everybody up that has been doubting them. They can right the ship after a disastrous start to their season. They're going to be playing a team that's better than them on paper, but they have a chance to do something special, so we'll break it down and much more on this episode of Cowboys Digest. Welcome in, everybody, to Cowboys Digest. Today we are going to be previewing the Detroit Lions and Dallas Cowboys matchup, which is set to go right around today at about 4:25 Eastern Time, so I cannot wait for that one. I'm your host, Peter Vryonis. Welcome into Cowboys Digest. I cannot wait for this matchup to get underway. Before we get into the video and break it all down, I want to let you know that a large percentage of you watching these videos are not subscribed to the channel, so go ahead, hit that sub button. It would mean the world to me. But let's get straight into it. Everybody on the Dallas Cowboys offense is going to have to play the best game they've played the entire season. That was Ryan Clark on how the Cowboys could beat the Lions, and all of those analysts, and I'll say analysts because Dan Orlovsky is in that clip as well, are picking the Detroit Lions to win. And I respect Mina Kimes. I really do. I think she's great. I think Laura Rutledge is great. I think Ryan Clark is fantastic. I don't think the same of Dan Orlovsky, so we'll just leave his opinion out here. I already gave my opinion on Dan Orlovsky just a couple of days ago, so go ahead and check that out if you haven't already. I got pretty fired up. But the last time the Cowboys and the Lions faced off against each other, we had the infamous not reporting eligible call on Detroit. It's almost a near certainty that they try to run this play again, right? I don't know about that. I wouldn't count it out because it is a Dan Campbell-led team, and he loves to get weird on that sideline, but I don't know. Can we move on from that already? The Cowboys won. The Lions went further in the playoffs. Like, why do we still need to talk about this? Whatever. Like, enough. It's done. It's done now. No Micah Parsons. No DeMarcus Lawrence. No Eric Kendricks. No Deron Bland, even though I thought Deron Bland was going to make his debut tonight. No Marshawn Kneeland. No Brandon Cooks. It's all up to Dak again. And I am not worried about the Cowboys being able to move the football. What I am worried about is that I know that the Detroit Lions are going to move the football. So if you want to win today, if you want to be out there and move on to 4-2, if you're the Cowboys, you are going to need to win a shootout. That is the only way this thing is going to go. I cannot see them winning a defensive ball game and the way that they did in Pittsburgh. You cannot count on the Detroit Lions to have a poor game offensively. It happens every once in a while, but they're one of the best offenses in the league. They have David Montgomery. They have Jahmyr Gibbs in the backfield. They have Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown as their wideouts, and Jared Goff is playing exceptional football, and he has been for the better part of 2 years now. So you can say all you want about the Cowboys defense. They're going to have to show up, yada, yada, yada. I totally disagree with you. This is not going to be a game won in the trenches. This is going to be a game won on best. I got my guys. You got your guys. Who's going to score more points? That is what is going to determine the outcome of this game right here. And Cowboys are missing 6 starters versus the Lions, which I just mentioned to you. There's no excuses, but there is also no pressure. And I kind of agree with that. There are no excuses in football. It's always the next man up mentality. You know what you're going into when you play this sport. There is a real possibility that you could get hurt, and there's a possibility that the starter that you play with is not going to be there every given Sunday. That's just the way it goes. Guys get hurt in football. It's simple. It's a physical game. It's a violent game. And you're going to run into some unlucky injuries every now and then. And the Cowboys have hit that point of the season already. I guess it's better to happen now than it is later on in the season. But the injury bug has hit you. And you're going to be without a lot of notable players that maybe you were expecting to count on today. And you're not going to have them at your disposal. So sure, there's no expectation for you to win the game. But I think there's always pressure. There is always pressure. These guys have lost 3 games in a row at AT&T Stadium in embarrassing fashion. And don't look at the scoreline in that Baltimore Ravens game. It was not that close. We all know if we watched that football game from minute 1 to 60, It was an all-out thrashing by the Baltimore Ravens, and they did whatever they want to the Dallas Cowboys defense. Sorry. They did whatever they wanted to that defensive unit of the Dallas Cowboys, and the scoreline was a little bit flattering. 28-25, it was not that close. Let's not kid ourselves right there. And if we take a look at the odds heading into tomorrow, I'm surprised the Cowboys are only 3-point underdogs, or 3.5-point underdogs, I should say. The over-under is pretty high. I mean, the game total is pretty high there, 52.5. Then you got the Cowboys on the money line. They're a plus 150. So it's warranted. It's warranted them being the underdog, especially considering that Detroit is a better team than them on paper, especially now with all the injuries, that they have lost 3 games in a row at AT&T Stadium. So nothing really is pointing in the Cowboys' direction here when we're talking about game trends and positive trends. This is going to be a tough matchup. Not in the sense of physicality. I just expect there to be a lot of scoring. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to say it again right now. If the Cowboys want to win this ball game, it has to be won in a shootout kind of way. You're going to have to win this ball game 40-35. Something ridiculous like that. Obviously, you don't have to win by 5 points, but you know what I mean. You're going to have to win a high-scoring affair, and there are no excuses this time for turning the ball over in the red zone. The weather is going to be perfect. You're playing in a dome. You're playing at Jerry's World, where you've been very comfortable in the past. There are no excuses for you to turn the ball over. There are no excuses for you to not be able to move the ball. The Lions have a bottom third defense in the league. They're not very good on that side of the football. They make a lot of mistakes. They commit a lot of penalties, and you're going to have an opportunity to move the ball up and down the field. You moved it up and down the Pittsburgh Steelers. You had no problem doing that. It was your execution. It was the way that you were finishing drives that left you in a pickle if you're the Cowboys. They had a chance to put that game away so early, but they just failed. They failed. They failed drive and drive and drive after drive. They just couldn't put 7 points on the board. They were settling for field goals, 3 turnovers. It was not a pretty win, but it was a win nonetheless. And that is a defense that is much better than the one that the Lions are going to be putting out on the field. So, sure, maybe you only won by 3 points against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but you were moving the football and you had over 350 yards of total offense. I expect a similar sort of game from Dak, minus some of the errors that we saw against the Steelers, and that is their recipe for victory. Again, I'm not worried about them moving the football, and I'm not even worried about Detroit moving the football. It's inevitable. They're going to do it. Both teams are going to have their opportunities in the red zone. It's all about capitalizing on those chances that are given to you, because they're going to be there. They're going to be there all night long. So you can move the ball up and down the field as much as you want, but if you don't convert when you're in the red zone, that is where the issue lies, and that is where the football game will be lost. Can a team generate a takeaway? Can they create a fumble in their own territory? Those are going to be the question marks that will decide the game that goes in just a few hours here. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun one. I think this is the most excited that I've been for a Cowboys game all season long. Maybe that Sunday night or last week against the Steelers was up there as well, but I'm excited for this one. I think it's going to be a great one, and I cannot wait to talk to you guys after the game, hopefully after a Cowboys W, but I'll see you all later, and enjoy the game, and let's go, boys. Come on now.